Hello folks, good morning, good late morning. What you see here is the New England woods in late October. As you can see, I think we're maybe a week or two even past peak colors, peak foliage. But it's still absolutely gorgeous. Peak foliage usually, well, it really depends upon the year. But right now we've got more yellows than reds and oranges, and peak is usually an equal spectrum of color. And I think that's what makes it peak and so gorgeous. And people flock to New England for their fall vacations. And it's interesting, it's like there's just there's a few weeks lead up where the colors start turning in late September, mid-September sometimes. And then they peak in sometime between early and mid-October. And then they quickly, quote unquote, decline, where all the deciduous trees lose their leaves. And the only green left are the pine trees. There's a dog up on the path, that's Willa, who I'm not sure if she's made it into any of my videos. She's very happy right now. I just let her roam as we're walking on this path. This is one of our favorite places to go. And this is the perfect season for it. So, I actually made a quick video on the ride here, so that I don't know if I'm going to upload that first or this first. But I haven't made a video in over a week. I've been gone in Florida. My wife and I were looking at she wants to go back to school for acupuncture. And we were looking at a couple places down there. And we'll see. We still don't know what we're doing. We never know what we're doing. But yeah, I'm back to my routine, and you know, I kind of stepped out of it. And you know, whenever you step out of your routine, there's Willa. Whenever you step out of your routine, or at least whenever I do, there's this real ability to sort of, I don't know if take stock is the right way of putting it, but just to look at your life with fresh eyes, look at your cycle, look at your habit. You know, most of us live in a routine. We have a routine, habitual life, and when we go on vacation or we get sick, we stop that routine, and we have a chance to sort of like look at it. I know that when I get sick, I often lie there just kind of thinking of all the things that aren't in harmony in my life. If I'm really sick, it's almost like this purgation, not just physical, but psychological, emotional. And that's often the time when I'm like feeling re-inspired to engage what is most important to me. So to some degree that happens. You know, when you go on vacation, you come back. My wife and I it was really nice because we were without our children, which of course we love our children, but we also love being without them for a little bit of time. But, you know, I one of the things, you know, of relevance to this channel is just my relationship with watches and watch obsession and the endless desire and search for the next watch. And, you know, in a way, you know, when you do have that gap, look at those red leaves. When you have that gap, it reminds me of when I used to smoke in my, I smoked from about 10 years, from mid-teens to mid-20s. And, you know, I would get sick, and there'd be a few days I wasn't such a diehard that I had to smoke through lung congestion. But there'd be a few days where I wouldn't smoke, and it'd be like this opportunity to quit. Because it just didn't have the same hold over me. Of course, it took me many times to actually do that. That's the thing with addiction. It's like you could say, well, I've tried and tried and tried again, and I just never can quit. But you might quit on your 27th attempt. You just don't know. You have to really want it, I think, is the bottom line. I think it was it Mark Twain who said, somebody said, some wise, everything's attributed to Mark Twain. I quit smoking every day. Anyways, I'm glad I don't smoke anymore. It's been quite a while. No desire to go back to that. So in relationship to watches, it's not, when I speak of addiction and when I speak of quitting, I'm not saying I'm not talking about watches as a whole or the hobby of horology and the interest in it and the enjoyment of it. The enjoyment of these beautiful snapshots of human technology. I mean, that's what it is. It's human craftsmanship and technology. You think of, there's so many different things. There's so many different types of items that people get into. Like a lot of people get into their knives and the craftsmanship. Think of how core to human civilization the forging of steel is. I mean, it really changed everything. It wasn't the biggest revolution, but it was one of the biggest revolutions, along with the agricultural revolution, the digital revolution, the computer revolution. Steel is right up there, top 5 definitely, industrial. So, I love watches, and I probably will always love watches. But what I've never gelled with, or what I've never felt great about, is the hold that the whole process has over me. The consumer dream, as Jeffrey McMahon said in a recent video. You hear that bird? Actually, it might not be a bird. It might be a chipmunk that's like upset, or a squirrel. So there's this dream, this hold of constantly needing to fill the emptiness, the void, constantly needing new stimulus, new stuff. This isn't a critique of capitalism. Let's not make that mistake again. I'm not critiquing the basic capitalist structure. Now there's capitalism, like one of those things. It's neutral in and of itself, but it's often misused. So I certainly will critique the misuse of it. And part of that is the advertisement agency, the advertisement industry, where you're basically selling something that you can't actually provide. If you watch those Lincoln car commercials, they're saying that if you drive a Lincoln, you will be as cool and good looking as Matthew McConaughey. Which for the vast majority of us, is simply not possible, right? There's very few people look like Matthew McConaughey. Let me just double check my route here. So if I go there, oh, okay, I'm there. I don't want to go left. Okay, let's go this way. So yeah, there's and anyone who is in the cyclic process of buying more. In a way, it doesn't even matter how wealthy you are. There's different dynamics. If you're limited by money, then it can impact you more, and you're maybe kept in check a little bit by that. If you have endless amounts of money, I can't even imagine. You could buy and buy, and you could continually. There'd be no end to the possible surrogates of real fulfillment, endless material gratification. Whether we're talking material goods, luxury items, or we're talking experiences, going off into the world, vacation after vacation, homes and cars and women or men or both or some combination. There'd be no end to it. And I mean, this is why I think a lot of very wealthy people end up kind of, they almost have a look of, I don't know if jaded is the right word, but they don't, there's nothing to come up against. I mean, they have their own struggles. And it's worth noting that instances of depression are higher in the very wealthy than they are in the middle class. The Indian sage Swami Vivekananda, who was one of the main people that brought Indian spiritual forms to the West a little over 100 years ago, he would say that it's, in terms of the path of enlightenment, it's better to live and be middle class than it is to be too wealthy or too poor. Because if you're too wealthy or too poor, the conditions of your financial, economic, conditions, right? Your financial, economic conditions are such a boundary. They determine your experience to such a degree. If you are totally poor, then you're in survival mode. And you're probably constantly yearning for more, for something. Winning the lottery. If you're very wealthy, then you can just keep on consuming, right? And anyone who orders a watch, there's an excitement. It's really fun to order that watch. And the best part for me is checking the tracking info and seeing that it's arrived and going out and getting it and opening the box. And in a way, the very best part is when you open the box just before you see it. Now, this isn't because, to some degree, it's inevitably going to be a letdown. To some degree, the idea is what really pulls us. But I think also it's just that feeling of yes, now this moment, this new thing, it's so exciting. And then it's inevitably, okay, well, it's great. It's a great watch. Or it's not a great watch and I'll return it or sell it. But if it's a great watch, you're yeah, sweet. I enjoy this watch, but what's next? And that what's next just continues. And that's and the consumer cycle and what I'm critiquing is the endless feeding of that. And the advertisement industry, our whole consumerist culture is based upon poking that open, raw hunger wound, right? Just constantly, you need more. You're not good enough as you are. You won't be happy until you get this. You won't be a real watch aficionado until you have an Omega. No, until you have a Rolex. No, until you have a Patek. Right? Just keeps on going. There's no end to it. And the problem is that the higher you go, quote unquote, the more expensive, the more luxurious, it's impossible to go back. I found this to be the case with, I first realized this when I bought myself, this is back maybe 20 years ago, I was in my early 20s, and I bought myself a really nice stereo. It wasn't an amazing stereo, but it was a really nice stereo. It was I think at the time I spent $1,000 for the amp, the speakers. It was nice for a 21-year-old, and the CD player and so forth. Now hold on a second. Let me give you a nice view while I try to figure this out. Here. Oh yeah, okay. Strange. All right. For some reason, I'm usually very good with my orientation, but I think maybe because I'm partially paying attention to my little mind realm in the camera, I'm not as well oriented as I usually am. Anyways, so I got the stereo, and I found that I had a hard time listening to lesser stereos after that. So it's like, and so audio is such a clear example of this. It's so distinct, you know. You can't, because it's not. There really is greater. There really are greater and lesser sound qualities. Now, of course, there are greater and lesser qualities of watches, but a lot of it is style. A lot of it is personal taste. You know, whether you like Omegas or you like Breitlings better. They're similar quality watches as a whole. You know, we can nitpick, but they're similar quality, and so yeah, it's an endless cycle, an endless hunger. So what to do about that? And for me, I have absolutely no desire right now for a new watch, which is a rare occurrence. There's always something. There's always some watch. The one that's always, I have, there's this sort of like watch du jour, the watch that's really pressing and that I really want and I'm fascinated by. And that often fades. And then there are watches in the background that are just kind of like in the queue that I know that I eventually want to get. Like the classic of that is the Seiko Marine Master. The SBD X001 or 017. On some level, I'm like, I'm definitely going to get that someday, or maybe not. But it's just always there. It's always like, it's almost like the watch. If there's no other watch I really want, and I really, quote unquote, need to buy a watch, that would be the one to get. So, in terms of more expensive ones, the Breitling Navitimer is just always there. I just know I'm going to get a Navitimer someday. Or maybe a Zen. We'll see. But I just don't have it. I don't have the feeling for it right now. I don't have any desire. And I know from past experience, whether it's watches or other things, what you feed will grow. Right? What you feed will grow. And this works for everything. Like, not just the desire for a new watch. Oh, nice, Willa. Listen, I'm going to pause this for a second and I'll do a part 2 in just a moment. We're maybe a week or two even past peak colors, peak foliage. But it's still absolutely gorgeous. Peak foliage usually, well, it really depends upon the year. But right now we've got more yellows than reds and oranges. And peak in sometime between early and mid-October. And then they quickly, quote unquote, decline, where all the deciduous trees lose their leaves. And the only green left are the pine trees. There's a dog up on the path, that's Willa, who I'm not sure if she's made it into any of my videos. Is usually an equal spectrum of color. And I think that's what makes it peak and so gorgeous. And people flock to New England for their fall vacations. And it's interesting, it's like there's a few weeks lead up where the colors start turning in late September, mid-September sometimes. And then they peak. Happy right now. I just let her roam as we're walking on this path. This is one of our favorite places to go. And this is the perfect season for it. So, I actually made a quick video on the ride here, so that I don't know if I'm going to upload that first or this first. But I haven't made a video in over a week. I've been gone in Florida. Hello, folks. Good morning, good late morning. What you see here is the New England woods in late October. As you can see, I think we're